When the Fiji Parliament opened for the first time in 8 years, there was much ceremony and celebration. After the swearing in of members and the election of the Speaker, it was straight down to business. But with most members of Parliament taking their seats for the very first time, there is still much to learn. 2 Victorian MPs recently visited Fiji as part of a project to support the Fiji Parliament during its start-up phase.
The atmosphere was very upbeat. Even from the airport to Suva, taxi driver was terribly enthusiastic about the reintroduction of democracy in Fiji.
The Victorian MPs took part in an induction course run for the new Fiji MPs. Coordinated by the United Nations Development Programme, the course was part of international efforts to support the new Parliament.
Well, the new members of Parliament, most of them hadn't served in Parliament before, 45 out of the 50, so a lot were looking at hints of how to do their job and what it actually meant for many people. They'd been professionals in the private sector, in the public sector. So for them, they were really just keen to learn from what are good ideas, what's best practice, how can Parliament function, how can they work through Parliament to address issues of concern to their communities.
The issues that mattered most to newly elected members of Parliament was just how parliaments operated, given the fact that the vast majority of them were newly elected to Parliament. They're very keen to understand the practice and procedures, anything from adjournment debates to question time and how a debate would operate.
Peer-to-peer mentoring is an important part of the program, which is being supported by the Australian Government.
Well, we covered a range of issues, which was a normal debate right through to adjournment debates and indeed an opportunity of making statements about members' interests in their own areas. One of the interesting things was, of course, there's only one electorate for the whole of Fiji, and that's certainly going to provide significant challenges. There was a lot of discussion about the fact that how they would operate outside Suva, going back to their own areas without electorates and indeed without any officers or staff that could support them in those roles.
I was asked to participate in different parts of the induction program. It included presentations, for example, on how you engage with citizens and convert that into positive action in Parliament or in public policy, how to use Parliament and parliamentary committees to address and raise issues, and also about that there is a lot of consensus, formal and informal, that occurs in Parliament in order for the functioning of Parliament and as a mechanism to address issues. We also ran some sessions in the Parliament for the Speaker and separately for members of Parliament where we acted as either ministers or members of Parliament.
Through Pacific parliamentary partnerships, the Victorian and Australian parliaments are developing strong links to the Fiji Parliament to help its MPs and staff get the professional development they want and need.
It's very important that Victoria is involved in this. We're one of the oldest continuing democracies in the world, and we have a great tradition of parliamentary democracy in this country. And that brings with it a lot of expertise, a lot of talent, and indeed, most importantly, the experience.
I think it's important that Victorian Parliament be involved in twinning arrangements with the Parliament of Fiji. I think our scale is very useful for them, a country of 1 million people. They can relate much more to us. But also I think just the down-to-earth relationships, the ability to communicate directly between members of Parliament, parliamentary staff to parliamentary staff, and learning really on what is good practice. MPs need to talk to others in order to best understand how they can do their job better.